I'm still thinking of Alexander long after, like 3 months after I watched it for the first time, and I'm like, dude, people need to watch this movie.
To whom do you pray?
Phobos.
Fear. Bad omen.
More so for Darius. I've come to believe that fear of death drives all men to feist you. At least we didn't learn as schoolboys. Neoptolemus. I remember you the day you jumped the siege tower at Tyre. You were a giant. And today, how will you fight? Dexapos. By Athena, how far was it you threw your man wrestling at the last Olympic Games? Will you match it with your spear? And Timander, son of Menander, a great soldier to my father. I still mourn your brother, Addons, who died so bravely at Halicarnassus. What an honored family you descend from, Timander. You fight for them today. You've all honored your country and your ancestors. And now we come to this most distant place in Asia, where across from us, Darius has at last gathered a vast army to stand with him and fight. Oh yes, these Persians do seem to be so many. But look again at this horde and ask yourselves, who is this great king who pays assassins in gold coins to murder my father, our king, in a most despicable and cowardly manner? Who is this great king, Darius, who enslaves his own men to fight? Who is this king but a king of air? These men do not fight for their homes. They fight because this king tells them they must. And when they fight, they will melt away like the air. Because they know no loyalty to a king of slaves. But we are not here today as slaves. We are here today as Macedonian free men. And though outnumbered, I say to you who know the price of tyranny, who've carried the Persian yoke too long, you have a strength born of your hearts. And all their arms, their numbers, their chariots, and all their fine horses will mean nothing in the hands of slaves. Some of you, perhaps myself, will not live to see the sun set over these mountains today. For I will be in the very thick of battle with you. But remember this, the greatest honor a man can ever achieve is to live with great courage and to die with his countrymen in battle for his home. I say to you, what every warrior has known since the beginning of time, conquer your fear! And I promise you, you will conquer death! And someday I vow to you, your sons and your grandsons will look into your eyes And when they ask you why you fought so bravely at Gaugamela, you will answer with all the strength of your great, great hearts. I was here this day at Gaugamela for the freedom and glory of Greece! Zeus be with us!
Another great movie was the movie Troy.
Are the stories about you true? They say your mother is an immortal goddess. They say you can't be killed.
I wouldn't be bothering with the shield then, would I?
A Thessalonian you're fighting. He's the biggest man I've ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him.
That's why no one will remember your name.
I've heard this quote before, but we're not going to be talking about the love part specifically of it. But we're going to talk about the humility and as well as tolerance aspect of this. Love requires that we be humbler than a blade of grass, and thus surrender unto the Supreme Lord. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. You can recognize the truth and still be a charlatan. That is a person who hasn't applied truth in their own life into action. A warrior's life is a life of war. It's a life of action. So that's more specifically what I want to talk about with the general idea of what I just read there. And so, after all, we all have to start as Shudras, laborers in other words, before we can be Arya, nobles, or noble. And that means first learning focus. After all, on the battlefield, if you're not focused, might be more liable to die. Awareness starts at the lowest levels of the caste and moves upward through the stages of awareness. Even a Kshatriya or warrior must start out as a Shudra. In death, the warrior finds life, but the decadent bureaucrat king will prolong the long, stagnant life of modernity. Decadent, full of hubris, politician, unlike the warrior, will always violate constitutions, treatises, and their very own oaths. That's why we need warriors instead of merchants and leaders too afraid to leave their strongholds. They're distracted by their wealth and power. And like with the Bronze Age collapse, we will see a millennial collapse. A civilized man waits for justice rather than fighting. What utter poppycock! The idea that vengeance against evil making you no different than or just as bad as the evil that you're taking up arms against is very much the kind of fiction that your enemy would fabricate and spread across popular and even mainstream culture in order so that to make sure that you do not shove their heads in a guillotine. That's an excellent observation. Civilization instills bowing down to criminality. The civilized man is a doormat for people to clean their boots on, even be the jack bootlickers themselves, these civilized men. Maybe that is the reason why Robert E. Howard, author and also creator of Conan, said that civilized men are more discourteous than savages because they know they can be impolite without having their skulls split. Take all these deceitful, gossiping, lying, conniving bureaucrats in Washington District of Columbia that love to talk smack about how bad people are, societal nepotism and gatekeeping. To be truthful and honest, it would be better to be silent, you know. I think it was Edmund de Goncourt who said that barbarism is needed every 400 or 500 years to bring the world back to life. Otherwise, it dies of civilization. That is why the uncivilized barbaric man is the justice. It is the Satra, the warrior, the warrior, which is the god of Vishnu, holds in his hand. A harmless man isn't a good man. A good man can do harm to protect himself and his family, and always controls his anger and avoids unnecessary violence. Being a pussy isn't being civilized. Strong, powerful men create civilization, but weak, passive, pussified men destroy them. Civilization only exists because the state has the power to be violent when needed. No society survives without the threat of overwhelming force. That is why they must be wary of rebellious, God-loving, liberty-loving people. However angry a man may be, he must do as the gods command him. This will be best for the gods ever hear the words spoken to them by the man who obeyed them. Of course, that part about obeying the gods is from Plato. And it's not Plato; it's from Homer. You know, and they tell you, they teach you at a very young age not to fight for yourself, to actually let people walk over you, let the bully bully you, you know, because civilized men wait for justice. Civilized men go through the proper channels. Well, you know who controls the proper channels? It's the uncultured swine of civilizers that run your country. The bureaucrats that run your country. The bureaucrats that run your church. The bureaucrats that run everything. And they're funded by the merchants. So, who am I to trust? The bureaucrats who are funded by the merchants that are the root of all evil? Because you know what? Greed is the root of all evil. It was never money, it was greed and hubris. And you see how that has spoiled the fruits of culture. It's spoiled civilization even. And unfortunately, I only see one way out of this, and that is a civilizational reset. Like, that's going to probably happen at some point. And it's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be necessary. It can't be helped, and it will. And it's going to suck. But that's life. That's what you get for putting your faith in like hypocritical, duplicitous people, self-righteous people, and not doing anything. Because now there's no one to defend you, because you didn't defend those people that could have otherwise defended you. So it's pretty much your fault that we got invaded by a foreign power.